Guys, big breaking news coming out. World War III update. It says here mystery fleet of US Air Force tankers crossing the Atlantic Ocean stirs echoes of Iran strike. Alright, so we're going to see what's going on here, guys. We do have some more information. Here are 9 alarming signs that the US and NATO are both preparing for World War III. We do have some more information coming out. The Pentagon pushes to double missile production for a potential conflict with the Red Dragon, China. Hold on, there's a lot more. We have updates. Putin orders highest conscription in 9 years. 135,000 men by 2026, preparing for large-scale WW3. There's a possibility. The U.S. Commander-in-Chief wants us to believe that the unprecedented gathering of U.S. top military commanders is for celebratory reasons. We're going to get to all this news here, guys. Alright, so it seems like this is going to be all of it, but we do have some more after this one. But yeah, if you can, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. For those of you that want to send us letters, a prayer request, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Thank you again for your support. Your support is what keeps us on air. Alright, so things are not looking good right now, guys. But one thing I tell you, Bible prophecy is at work. Now, I was supposed to go live, but I'm going to do the live stream tomorrow. I just got home from my job, and it was I just got home late, so I just don't want to set up the live stream really late. And again, I truly apologize about that. So let's see what's going on with this news here. It says the only way that Russia could possibly be defeated in Ukraine would be if Western forces get directly involved in a conflict. Sadly, it appears that events are rapidly taking us in that direction. So Americans need to be prepared spiritually, physically, and mentally. I was watching a Canadian prepper video. He put out a very important video that the U.S. hospital are preparing for a big event. We're talking about war stuff. Same thing with France. France is also doing the same thing. They are urging hospitals to prepare. When long-range missiles that are provided by Western countries and that are guided to their targets by Western countries start slamming into Moscow, it is likely that the Russians will respond with overwhelming force. That would give Western countries all the justification that they need to officially enter the war. And then we will be just one step away from a nuclear apocalypse. The following are 9 signs that the US and NATO are both preparing for war. Number 1, Keith Kellogg has told Fox News that the US president has given Ukraine authorization to conduct long-range missile strike deep inside Russian territory. Are you saying it is the president's position that Ukraine can conduct long-range strike into Russia? That has been authorized by the U.S. president? The Fox News host asks Keith. I think reading that has said, and reading what the vice president has said as well as Secretary Rubio, the answer is yes, Keith said in response. So Donald is the one that is given the green light. Number 2, According to the Wall Street Journal, the Pentagon is asking firms that produce missiles for the U.S. military to double or even quadruple production rates. The Pentagon, alarmed at the low weapon stockpiles the U.S. will have on hand for a potential future conflict with China, is urging its missile suppliers to double or even quadruple production rates on a breakneck schedule. The push to speed production of the critical weapons in the highest demand has played out through a series of high-level meetings between Pentagon leaders and senior representatives from several U.S. missiles makers, according to people familiar with the matter. Deputy Defense Secretary Steve is acting an unusual hands-on role in the efforts called the Munition Acceleration Council, and calls some company executive weekly to discuss it. Some of the people said. Pay attention to the nation against nation. Number 3, it has been confirmed that the U.S. is strongly considering sending long-range Tomahawk missile to Ukraine. U.S. Vice President has acknowledged that the White House is actively considering proposal to sell Tomahawk to European allies for use in Ukraine. Now, time out. Let's stop here. Joe, the former leader, we know that Joe was crazy. He sent weapons, he sent money, he sent a lot of stuff. But Joe wouldn't send Tomahawk. Joe is like, I can't send that. I can't send no Tomahawk. Zelensky is like, Joe, please give me the Tomahawk. Joe's like, no, I can't. I can't do that, man. That would spark it. That would spark WWE. Donald is like, you want Tomahawk? I give it to you. Buckle up, sleeping giant. Buckle up. Appearing on Fox Sunday, the VP said that the U.S. commander is looking at sending long-range Tomahawk to Ukraine as Washington seeks to ramp up pressure on Moscow to come to the negotiating table and come to peace agreement to end the biblical war. Now, it's something the president going to make the final determination on, the VP said of the Tomahawks. I'll let the president speak to it, but I know that we are having conversation this very minute about that issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time for Sleeping Giant to start preparing, getting your go bag, emergency kits, prepare spiritually, physically, and mentally. I'm not trying to spook no one here, but you see where we you see where we are heading. WWE is around the corner. And scripture says that there will be many wars. Tomahawk cruise missile can travel 1,000 miles, and they will be a very serious threat to the city of Moscow. It is expected that Vladimir is expected to address this threat during a major speech that he is scheduled to deliver next week. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. Vladimir to deliver a speech about it next week. Pay attention. Vladimir is set to make a major speech in what the Kremlin is promising to be an interesting week. The announcement comes following remarks by the U.S. Vice President on Friday, in which he said the U.S. commander was considering a request to supply Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry dropped the cryptic message in an interview on Sunday with the Russian journalist Pavel said. Now, it says here the president will deliver a fairly major speech next week. Now, Putin, he said, now we will announce what it will be about, as well as exactly when and where. But the week will be interesting. It is also being reported that the conscription of soldiers for the Russian military has reached the highest level in 9 years. And I did post a video earlier today. Someone, of course, in the comments box said it's fake. It's not the real news. Yeah, so a lot of people's talking about it right now. Again, we already posted that video a long time ago. So guys, the stuff that I put out is not baloney stuff. It is the real deal. Please try to ignore the mockers and scoffers. This, again, they part of Bible prophecy too. It says here the bear leader Vladimir on Monday ordered the conscription of 135,000 men by the end of 2025, the largest conscription drive in 9 years. Number 4, Denmark is suddenly calling up hundreds of reservists. Now, I did post a video about Denmark. In Denmark, reservists were urgently called up for service on Sunday, September 28. This decision was made due to drones in Danish airspace, according to TV2. According to sources cited by the news agency, several hundred reservists were called up for service. The summons explicitly states that the decision was made due to incidents involving unidentified drones. Soldiers were instructed to report as quickly as possible. The outlet's interlocutors added that call-up of reservists was carried out to prepare for their possible deployment within Denmark. Number 5, NATO forces in the Baltic Sea are in a state of enhanced vigilance. Now it says here a spokesperson for NATO said it has enhanced vigilance in the Baltic Sea following the intrusion. Now the reinforced measure include multiple intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms, and at least one air defense frigate in the region to the west of Russia, alliance spokesman Martin said. Number 6, French hospital have been instructed to prepare for mass casualty by March 2026. Not only French, but also US. French hospital had been told to prepare a potential armed conflict in Europe by next year, local media reported in a letter sent to, whoops, I don't know what happened there, guys. I truly apologize. That was not me. That was the news article right there. In a letter sent to regional health agency revealed by L'Encanade, the Ministry of Health asked the hospital to prepare for a major military engagement by March 2026. It says here the newspaper warned that between 10,000 and 50,000 men could be expected in hospital over a period of 10 to 180 days. Number 7, Germany is preparing to treat up to 1,000 wounded per day. Germany armed forces are planning how to treat a potential 1,000 wounded troops per day should a large-scale conflict between NATO and Russia breaks out. Moscow has rejected any suggestion it might be preparing for a war with the Western military alliance, but the latest incursion of Russian jets and drones into NATO territory have raised fears of escalation. Germany's Surgeon General Ralph said the number of wounded troops in a potential conflict would depend on the intensity of battle and which military units were involved. Man. Give me a second here, guys. Okay. Let me make this a little small so you guys have a better view. Do me a favor, hit that like, guys. Hit that subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We're going to bring you all these World War III breaking news updates. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Number 8, on Tuesday, the U.S. commander, the Secretary of War, and every general and admiral in our military will be gathered at a military base in Virginia. The U.S. commander is set to attend Tuesday unprecedented all-hands meeting of U.S. military commanders in Virginia, he said Sunday, as speculation swirls over why generals and flag officers from around the world were summoned. The U.S. commander insisted the purpose was celebratory. It's really just a very nice meeting talking about how well we're doing militarily, talking about being in great shape, talking about a lot of good, positive things. It's just a good message, the U.S. commander told the news. That's going to be, again, we will talk more about that. But I feel like there's a lot more to it. I mean, again, you don't call all top generals and spend millions of dollars on airline ticket, and this is pretty risky too. And just bring him to Virginia. Hey, good job. You want some Big Mac? You guys are doing great. Good job. No. There's a lot more to it. There is a lot more to it, guys. Number 9, a fleet of U.S. tankers just made the long journey across the Atlantic Ocean. Flight trackers have spotted a fleet of U.S. air tankers crossing the Atlantic just as the U.S. commander prepares to meet with general and admirals on Tuesday. Around a dozen KC-135R/T Strata tankers were making the journey on Sunday night, with several en route to Ralph Mildenhall, a major Air Force base in England. Open source intelligence accounts reported on X. The presence of air tankers can indicate that the U.S. or NATO is addressing an urgent military requirement for fighter jet refueling capacity. The last time we witnessed a deployment of tanker of this magnitude, we dropped the hammer on Iran nuclear facility. The deployment carries ominous weight, according to 3 Defense Department sources, 2 former, 1 current, who spoke to the Daily Mail on condition of anonymity. Last time the U.S. moved tankers in a comparable numbers was 5 days before American warplanes struck Persia, Iran nuclear facility. The U.S. commander is meeting with Benjamin at the White House on Monday. Each one of the items in this list is certainly noteworthy. But when you put them all together, a very alarming picture emerges. Something is up. 2025 has been a year of war, but the vast majority of the population is simply not prepared for what is coming next. You can't forget Venezuela. It should be number 10, Venezuela war. Okay, so we're going to go with the next news here, guys. We're going to go with the next news. Mystery fleet of U.S. Air Force tankers crossing Atlantic Ocean stirs echoes of Iran strike. Are they going to drop the hammer on Iran again? Well, Iran, again, they mentioned that they could produce something in weeks, not months, not years. In a move that's sparking intense speculations across military and intelligence circles, a fleet of approximately a dozen U.S. Air Force KC-135RT Strata tankers was spotted crossing the Atlantic on Sunday night, with several heading to Ralph Mildenhall, a key U.S. base in England. The deployment comes at a tense geopolitical moment, coinciding with high-level meetings involving the U.S. commander, the Holy Land Prime Minister, and top U.S. military brass. While officials' explanations point to routine NATO exercises, the timing evokes memories of past operations against Iran, fueling whispers of potential strike on Tehran nuclear facility. Open source intelligence account on X first tracked the tankers' transatlantic journey, noting their role in flight refueling for fighter jets, a critical assist in any long-range bombing mission. The movement arrived when head of 2 pivotal events, the U.S. commander White House sit-down with Benjamin on Monday. and a secretive gathering on Tuesday at Virginia, where the U.S. Commander and Defense Secretary P. Hegseth were huddled with hundreds of generals and admirals, many fresh from active conflict zone. Notably, no agenda has been released for this summit, leaving attendees and the public in the dark. The parallels to history are hard to ignore. During the U.S. commander's second term, a similar mass deployment of tankers preceded Operation Midnight Hammer, a daring U.S. strike on Persian nuclear site. That operation, the only such direct action against Persia by a U.S. commander in 2 decades, involved B-2 stealth bombers and a clever decoy strategy to throw off enemy radar. Now it says here, you have Bernam, a senior director of the Persian program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy, highlighted the eerie similarities in an interview soon after that something went boom in the U.S. Now it says here, critically, in Operation Midnight Hammer, the U.S. Commander Administration executed a decoy or deception effort to mask the flight of the B-2 bombers to Persia. Once again, you have this person said. Now he urged vigilance. Big military movement on his watch are something to keep an eye on. So I do believe something big is coming here, guys. I believe that Donald has something under his sleeve. Is he gonna drop the hammer on Iran? Maybe. There's a possibility he might drop the hammer on Moscow. Defense Department insiders speaking anonymously echoed the interview. 2 former officials and 1 current source described the tanker surge as a possible indication of surgent operation need, although they stopped short of confirming any link to Persia. 1 former Pentagon official quipped about the opaque Quantico meeting. It could be anything from a push-up contest, okay, to a meeting on national security. A source close to Hegseth added that the brass are entering the meeting blind, with 0 details on the discussion topics. Not everyone is convinced this is about the Mideast. Alternative theories point to escalating tensions in Europe and the Arctic. The tanker flight overlapped with NATO exercise Cobra Warrior 25-2, a massive training drill running from September 12th to October 2nd over the North Sea, involving Allied air forces in simulated combat scenarios. Additionally, the Russian aerial and drone incursion near Denmark in the Baltic Sea had prompted heightened U.S. responses. Mr. John, a national security senior fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute, tied the activity to broader strategic concerns. Now, Denmark inability to defend its own airspace underscores White House concerns that it is unable to protect and defend its far larger and distant Greenland territory from increasing Chinese and Russian joint air and naval patrol in the emerging Arctic theater of strategic competition. Now, Greenland, vast mineral resources and its position as a linchpin in U.S. missile defense plans make it a flashpoint. Recent joint Russia-China patrol in the region have alarmed Washington, with the tankers potentially boosting patrols or deterrence efforts there. As the U.S. commander navigates his second term, these developments underscore the administration's aggressive posture on multiple fronts, from Persian nuclear ambitions to Russian aventurism. Now, whether the tankers herald a replay of midnight, hammer, or merely routine logistic remains unclear. But in the world of modern warfare, where deception is a vital as firepower, one thing is certain: eyes are locked on the skies. So once again, guys, we are definitely seeing some military movements here. And we did talk about this yesterday over my live stream. We're going to go with the next news here. Boom. Pentagon pushes double missile production for a potential conflict with the Red Dragon. You see what's going on here, guys. It's a buildup. Nation against nation. All these nations are preparing for something big, period. It's all happening right in front of our faces. But sadly, there's so many people that think that everything is fine. They get Lewis, the boy that cried wolf, and this and that. But again, they don't read scriptures. Scripture tells us that many things will happen. The U.S. Department of Defense is intensifying efforts to booster its arsenal of long-range missiles, driven by fears of a potential conflict in the Asia-Pacific region. The Pentagon has launched an aggressive campaign to double or even quadruple production rates for critical munitions, aiming to address what officials describe as dangerously low stockpiles that could prove insufficient in a high-intensity war scenario against the Red Dragon. Well, the reason why, you could thank Joe. He gave most of our stuff to Ukraine. This push comes at a time when U.S. military planners are increasingly focused on deterring the Red Dragon ambitions over Taiwan and the South China Sea. Now, the initiative, known as the Munition Acceleration Council, represents a rare level of direct intervention from top defense leadership, underscoring the urgency of the situation. At the heart of the effort is Deputy Defense Secretary Steve, who has adopted an unusually hands-on approach. Once again, Mr. Steve is convening weekly calls with executives from major U.S. missile manufacturers, including Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman. Now, these high-stake discussions are designed to identify and dismantle production bottlenecks, from supply chain disruptions to regulatory hurdles. Now, it says here the Pentagon strategy is rooted in lessons learned from recent global conflict, such as the war in Ukraine, where rapid depletion of precision-guided munition exposed vulnerabilities in U.S. industrial capacity. A 2023 gain simulation by the Center for Strategic and International Study highlighted that a conflict over Taiwan could exhaust America's stockpile of long-range anti-ship missiles in mere days, leaving forces exposed to the Red Dragon naval superiority. Once again, to counter this, the Munition Acceleration Council, established earlier this year, bringing together senior Pentagon officials and industry leaders in regular forums. The goal is not just incremental improvement, but transformative scaling, doubling output for systems like the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile and the Long-Range Anti-Ship Missile within the next few years. Industry forces familiar with the talks indicate that manufacturers are being pressed to retool factories and secure alternative raw material suppliers, even as they grapple with labor shortages and inflation. One executive speaking on condition of anonymity noted that the scale of the challenge. We're talking about going from building a few hundred missiles a year to thousands, It's like rewiring the entire defense industrial base overnight. They're really preparing for WWE3. We really need to start building more missiles and start getting more stuff ready. The broader context is the Pentagon 2025 budget request, which allocates an additional $28 billion for munition procurement, a 40% increase from prior years. This funding targets hypersonic and submarine-launched ballistic, seen as essential for penetrating the Red Dragon advanced air defenses. Critics, however, warn that the rush could strain resources and invite waste. And it says a report from the Gov Accountability Office earlier this month flagged delays in existing contract, attributing them to overly optimistic production timelines. Still, supporters argued that hesitation is not an option, as one senior defense official put it in a recent briefing. In a peer conflict, the side that runs out of missile first losses. Once again, China, for its part, has been aggressively modernizing its own missile forces, with state media boosting of carrier killer capabilities that could target U.S. assets from afar, and the Red Dragon production rates for ballistic and cruise already outpace America's by a factor of 5, according to estimates from the Arms Control Association. Once again, the Pentagon's acceleration efforts extend beyond meetings to policy changes. Recent executive orders have streamlined environmental review for new manufacturing sites, while incentives like tax credits are luring suppliers back to U.S. soil. If successful, these measures could restore a wartime footing to the defense sector dormant since the Cold War. All right. Pentagon pushes to double missile production for a potential conflict with China. Man, we are involved in everything. You got Russia, you got China. You got Venezuela. And guys, I'm going to skip this one here. We already talked about this. And check out the video. I did post a video about this today. So once again, Putin orders highest conscription in 9 years. 135,000 men by 2026. Preparing for large-scale war. Alright, so we do have this one here. Alright, so tomorrow's going to be the big day. Tomorrow's going to be the big day. The U.S. commander announced he will personally attend an extraordinary all-hands meeting of top U.S. military leaders at the Marine Corps base in Virginia on Tuesday. The gathering, which brings together nearly every general and flag officer from around the globe, has sparked intrigue and speculation due to its scale and the absence of a detailed agenda in the initial summons. The U.S. commander speaking on Sunday framed the event as a moral, boosting celebration of its armed forces accomplishments rather than a forum for policy overhauls. It's really just a very nice meeting, the U.S. commander said. It's just a very nice meeting about how well we are doing militarily, talking about being in great shape, talking about a lot of good, positive things. It's just a good message, the president said, emphasizing upbeat nature of the assembly. So he just gave us the good news. But what about the bad news? Whenever there's good news, there's always bad news. We're just going to talk about positive things. We're going to talk about being in great shape. We're going to talk about, how's everything? How's the family? Yeah, there's a lot more to it, guys. The logistic of the meeting are staggering, requiring the convergence of hundreds of one-star and higher-ranking officers, along with their senior enlisted advisors, potentially totaling over 1,000 personnel when aides are factored in. Issued last week by War Secretary Pete, the invitation provided no specific rational fueling rumors among defense circles. Sources suggest possible discussion could include Hegseth, aggressive push to reduce the general officer corps by 20%, alongside trims to civilian and contractor position and adjustment to U.S. troops deployment in Europe and the Mideast. Hegseth, a vocal advocate for a warrior ethos in the military, has already moved decisively since taking office, dismissing around 24 senior officers. Now, once again, at the Virginia summit, he is expected to reinforce the imperative for commanders to stay political while solidifying his leadership. Once again, you have the Secret Service is spearheading security protocols, and given the high-profile attendees and the U.S. commander presence, marking this as one of the largest concentration of military brass in a single location in recent memories. Like I say, guys, there's a possibility the U.S. commander could say, spend your time with your family. Spend as much time as you can with your family, because after this, we're going to go possibly to WWE3. The event arrived amid broader tensions in the U.S. commander defense strategy. Just last week, the president signed an executive order mobilizing law enforcement and the military to combat the domestic tea and organized political lawlessness. On Sunday, as U.S. Commander Directive P. Hegseth notified the Adjutant General of the Oregon National Guard that 200 troops will be federalized for 60 days to safeguard immigration enforcement operation amid ongoing protests. Now, these troops will operate under the U.S. Northern Command, highlighting the administration's readiness to deploy National Guard assist in domestic scenarios. Not everyone is applauding the fanfare. Senator Tammy from Illinois, a combat veteran and member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, fired off a letter to the Pentagon demanding transparency. She questioned the expanse of the airlifting officer on such short notice, estimated to involve private jets and military aircraft, and whether virtual options were explored to cut cost. Now, with a potential Gov shutdown looming, Duckworth also probed for cost-benefit analysts and assurances that in-person format won't disrupt critical operation. This gathering raises serious questions about fiscal responsibility and necessity at a time when our service members deserve focus on readiness, not spectacle. Duckworth office stated in a release accompanying her inquiry. As Tuesday approaches, the Virginia meeting stands as a symbolic flex of U.S. President vision for a revitalized military, one that blends celebration with subtle signals of reform. The U.S. commander doubled down on the event intent during his remark, evoking a classic military term to describe its spirit. We have some great people coming in, and it's just an esprit de corps. You know, the expression impress the corps. That's all it's about. We're talking about what we are doing. what they're doing and how we are doing. All right. So according to the U.S. commander, it's not a big deal when it comes to September 30th. I do believe it's a big deal. I do believe that something is happening and they are preparing for something big. When I say they, we talking about nations. Nations are preparing for something big. Give me 1 second here, guys. If you can, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I truly appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for your support. We have a breaking news. The U.S. President is expected to address tomorrow's meeting called by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth of all admirals and general at Marine Corps base around 9 a.m. before traveling back to the White House for unknown announcement at 11 a.m. and a signing of executive order at 3 p.m. He's going to be busy. Breaking news. Marine Corps base Santiago will be closed to all non-essential personnel on Tuesday between 400 and 1200, and the National Museum of the Marine Corps will be closed until at least 1200, as the U.S. Commander and Secretary of Defense are expected to address an unprecedented last-minute gathering of all roughly 900 flag officer, one-star admirals, generals, and higher throughout the United States Armed Forces, with officers and their staff traveling from across the world for the meeting in Virginia. Alright, guys, so this is all the information. This is all the information here. So I will keep it updated when it comes to nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. This is a preparation going on here, guys. I mean, we are definitely seeing a lot of military activity happening in 2025, and that Tomahawk missile thing is no joke. Hopefully, guys, we pray that the U.S. commander does not send Tomahawk. If he does, man, that would be really, really, really a whole different ball game. Even Joe wouldn't dare to send Tomahawk. But again, Donald is not Joe, and Donald is the type of dude that he's willing, to go for it. But at the same time, he needs to think about the sleeping giant population. He needs to think about the world population. He say he want to make it to heaven. He has to make smart decision. Again, he needs to make smart decision. He needs to, again, get down to his knees and constantly stay in prayer and believe in Christ. Again, guys, I will keep you updated with all this news. Share the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Again, for those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. Once again, guys, $5 a month Patreon. We get you access to our live stream once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Put faith and trust in Jesus Christ, for he's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.